Let's talk about the state formula itself. An ongoing debate is that the north-south equitability in funding in state general, but also, of course, in higher education. Our current state funding formula, is it equitable, north-south?
Well, the legislature made changes in 2013. It was a committee that was formed that brought in national experts and others to look at transforming how the funding formula works and how it operates. And what that change has done is that it has changed from more of an output model to an outcome model. So instead of measuring students enrolled, it's on student completions. This is something nationally the federal government has been pushing. This is something that best practices. It is something Nevada should have done and rightfully did with the legislature to develop this. And so basically what that does is students, part of the formula is to look at weighted student credit hours. It's to look at course completions. So this session, if you have an F for non-attendance, then it doesn't count. Right. So it's not degree, it's actually on course completions. So the model was intended to be more equitable, more transparent, and a bit easier, because it's still a little complicated now, but it was very complicated from what I understand before 2013. So to answer your question is that since 2013, and there's been some tweaks and changes. For example, last session, we added, the legislature added a career technical education and adjustment around that. Mm-hmm. And any model, you need to continue to tweak it.
And is that benefiting the community college structure more?
Yes,
so?
that's mostly the community colleges. Yeah. So it is a more transparent, equitable, and fair model. I mean, if you look at, there was analysis done by our staff, the Nevada Faculty Alliance, which is the union, and the Legislative Council Bureau all looked at it. And for the most intents purposes, it did what it said it did. It moved money, particularly from the north, benefiting more from Nevada State College, UNLV, and CSN. Mm. But you know, I truly believe that in any model or any funding formulas that we should continue to look at it. I had some conversations early on with legislators about perhaps looking at it again. Rightfully so, the legislators said that their primary focus at this legislative session is K through 12. They're still struggling with that. Right. I was hoping maybe for an interim study to look at that, to also look at how it impacts rural colleges. I mean, part of our funding formula is actually based upon growth. We are growing. We have lots of room to grow. That's not the case out east, right, where growth has hampered. And if that turns here, then the funding formula will put many of our institutions at risk.
And Tom, when we're projecting growth, are we projecting residents within the state, or do we think we're going to get a lot more out-of-state residents coming into our system?
Well, both. I mean, you know, when you look at affordability, which we have to be very concerned with, you look at where we fare, particularly with the western states, we fare very positively on the affordability ranking, both at our community colleges and higher education. In California, they simply can't get in. So there's state colleges, there's long waits in order to get in, mm-hmm. And their research institutions. So we definitely see some benefit of that also. But we have a lot of room. We rank 49th, as I mentioned before, in the percent of 18 to 24-year-olds who go into higher education. There is I tell presidents all the time, there is a lot of room to reach out, particularly when we have a mission of any type of higher education. We're not talking four-year degrees, we're talking certificates. So there's a lot of room for growth. So I don't see us having that model. But after 10 years, I would think that we'd want to revisit. Let's bring in national folks, let's look at how it's been operating to see if any changes are needed. I think another important change that we've seen at the last two legislative sessions has been the buildings, which I think has been always concerned that a lot of the buildings were up north versus down south. That has seemed to be shifted. I mean, if we look at the top three priorities of the Nevada Board of Regents, were the only three that advanced to the legislature, which included one Nevada State College education building, a joint venture by Nevada State College and CSN on a health sciences building, and then an engineering building at UNLV. The top two made it into the governor's budget. We still have some hopes for UNLV.
And I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the medical school expansion too, as a building too. Where's the status of that project?
Well, so what's in the budget at the legislature is about $14.3 million in operational support for the med school. The legislature committed to the full operation of 60 students per class. So this 14 million that's in the budget that I'm very optimistic will pass is the further commitment that we'll have a fully funded med school. The building we have right now, which is near UMC on Shadow Lane, accommodates that. So, but the discussion is that we need to grow more. I mean, we need more physicians, we need more residencies, right. And so there's discussion about the building, which has been a challenge as far as moving forward. But there are some financing models that have been discussed and been presented to the legislature that, you know, I'm optimistic that there'll be movement to grow the program. But the commitment we have through the legislature, the current building is suffice, but we definitely need to explore more initiatives around building out and developing a new med school.
Gotcha. Tom, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.